Welcome to another edition of Saturday Smackdown. As far as entertainment's concerned, the big story this week was that the Batman is going to be, was it 3 hours long or 2 hours and 40 some minutes? And a lot of people who are really excited for the movie are saying that you shouldn't hold it against the movie that it's that long. And, I've always been consistent about um, the belief I have that you can have short movies that are not good, long movies that are not good. It's just kind of funny because I remember when The Dark Knight came out back when I was in, I think it was fourth grade. You had people who were saying, "Oh, this is too long," and it's kind of funny to think about that. And then you look at Endgame being 3 hours and the Snyder Cut being 4 hours. It's just you see how people just are more accepting of certain stuff than they were or they used to be. So that's the big part of that. Um, as far as my comic run is concerned, I'm on Uncanny X-Men number it's like 309. I'm doing I'm about 30 issues past where the Claremont run ends, and originally I was going to stop reading after I finished his historic legendary run, and I say that with complete sincerity. But I've been enjoying a lot of what's come after that, so I'm probably gonna stick with it until I get to the last issue, which is like 500 and something. So it's like we have the majority of it read already. You might as well keep going, I guess, is the mantra I have. I just thought of something that really interested me, which is that I've always said the majority of people don't read comics, right? And a lot of times I prefer them to stuff that adapts them because a lot of ideas are given more time to be fleshed out, just the various reasons. But someone made a really good point that I thought was very logical, very sound, and really got me thinking. Where they said it's true that like most people don't read comics, but if you look at Japan, with any major manga that it has, usually the same people that watch the show read the manga, like they do both. This is the case with Naruto. This is the case where I guess Boruto at this point with My Hero Academia. Just any of these series that have some ongoing show with an ongoing manga that's further ahead, they'll engage with both. And I was like, it's so crazy how with a lot of these superhero movies, right? And this has been especially the case since I'd say 2012, when Avengers came out. You really don't get people to engage with the source material of this stuff. Like I always think about how I first started reading Spider-Man comics because I like the shows and the movies and the games. I guess I really was like part of that less than 1%. Like just when you think about how very few people engage with the original stuff. But that's a really good thing that he mentioned there. If people are this way in Japan, right, where they get a show, but they'll still read the manga. Why aren't they this way with adaptations of stuff in the US? Like I remember we had this conversation where people are freaking out because Kevin Feige said that they weren't going to recast Black Panther for Black Panther 2. And you got this whole thing on like Twitter about, T'Challa has more stories to tell. I'm like, what stories are you guys talking about? And there are some people that will mention certain stuff, but the reason I bring that up is because that's a character referring to Black Panther who historically has had terrible book sales. That's why his ongoing solo book has been canceled 6 times, 7 times. So it's one of those things where people are more in love with the idea of a character than actually supporting it. Just like we would talk about how the run of Sam Wilson as Captain America failed. It did not do well financially, and really, it's just really funny to see like the comic for that go under the boob tube, but then have people on Twitter like celebrating, oh yes, first Black Captain America, woohoo! It's like, well, where were you guys when the first Black Captain America had his own book that was coming out every month? Same thing with Miles Morales. Like his book for as Spider-Man's been relaunched and rebooted like 4 times because no one buys it. So it really is a thing where people, and it's not just because we've always explained this. While it's true the majority of people don't read comics, the bigger characters always have enough support to sustain themselves. Like for as much as just complete clowns on these websites say disparaging things about Superman as a character, there's a reason why he's had an ongoing book for the past 80 years. Whether it's Action Comics or his ongoing title. Same thing with Batman. Same thing with Wonder Woman. Like you even in eras where people aren't reading comics as much, the top characters always do the best and always have some group of people supporting their publication. So I thought that was a really interesting, kind of dichotomy. It's like, yeah, why don't people engage with the books for this stuff if they love the characters so much? Because damn well that if Toriyama or Toyotaro came out and said, we're gonna make an ongoing Dragon Ball manga about Piccolo and Gohan, for example, I would get that in a heartbeat. I'd get every volume, unless the stories were really bad or awful, which I don't think they would be because those two characters have never been so overpowered that nobody's been able to fight them, which is the case with Goku and Vegeta, for example. But you get the idea that if I really like a character and I feel like they're not being used enough, or I have like some issue with how much they're used, and then all of a sudden they have some book where they're like the main character or one of the main characters are heavily featured, and I'll go and read it. So I guess that's just the difference between me and other people, I suppose. But it was a really good point that he made. Oh man, it's just really sad. It really sucks too because there's a lot of comics I want to read. Like after finishing Uncanny X-Men, I want to read X Factor because that's the book where like 10 issues in, Angel gets turned into Archangel. Then you've got New Mutants, and there's apparently some period in that where like there's an issue where Professor X learns how to walk again, and then you have Magneto teaching the students and kind of like being their mentor figure. Um, it's a lot of stuff that even without reading the book, I'm very enticed to read and see play out because of just the premise of it sounds interesting to me by itself. Then there's my favorite, my what's a good way for saying it? The magnum opus of like modern X-Men comics, Astonishing X-Men by Joss Whedon, before he was hated by Snyder fans and all the other DC people for directing Justice League. He wrote one of my favorite runs on X-Men. I really love Astonishing, like that 20 something issue run that he had on it because it was so accessible. You could have never read an X-Men comic and just pick that up. And I at that time I hadn't read any before, so it'll always have a special place in my heart for that alone. Then you got Excalibur, which is the book with I think it's Nightcrawler and Kitty Pryde. Um, there's a whole bunch of stuff with them in it. Then you have the not even Uncanny, but just the regular X-Men title that came out in the '90s, where the first issue is still the best-selling comic of all time, with 7 million copies sold. That is the worst part. That like you just have all these different books you want to get to and read, and that still doesn't even count all the other stuff. Like you've got Fantastic Four, the legendary Lee Kirby run that was like 100 issues, where they introduced Galactus and everyone's favorite Black Panther, and then Super Scroll and Namor, all kind of stuff that I just am very interested to get to. And I've said before, Doctor Doom's one of the greatest antagonists in all of comics and possibly all of fiction. Um, to where Stan Lee himself admitted that Doom was Marvel's best villain. So I'm really excited to pick up some of this other stuff whenever I eventually get around to it. I don't know what it was. It was like when I first sat down and just went through all of Amazing, and then started going through Spectacular. I was like, I gotta read this other person's book, and I gotta read this other person's book, and I gotta read this other person's book. And we still haven't even touched DC. Like you got Detective Comics, which is what, 1,000 issues, 800, 900, one of those. Action Comics, then the regular Superman and Batman titles, and Justice League. So there's a whole bunch of stuff to just get around to at some point in this big comic adventure. But yeah, don't ever let anybody convince you that any of these characters that people get all excited to when they show up in a show or a movie, anyone actually cares about. Like for Black Panther to have a movie that sells over $1 billion and then his book has been canceled like multiple times. That's all you need to know about the disparity. He's just not as popular as people make him out to be. And me and a guy had this conversation where we talked about how you can't even name anyone from his rogues gallery because he doesn't have any. No iconic villains. Um, there's actually apparently a plot contrivance in some comic that has Wakanda where they apparently found a cure for cancer, but because they're jerks, they won't tell other countries what it is. So it's just weird stuff, man. It's just funny to see people just get so like he has more stories to tell. What stories? I wish people could just show the same level of support to the character's publication that they could to one movie every half a decade. Now, Akatsuki Merchant, don't you think it's funny that when people are fans of manga and anime, a lot of times the people who like the anime will also read the manga. But then when someone in the US sees a superhero movie, whether it's from Marvel or DC, that doesn't translate to them being interested in reading any books with that character in it, you don't see where that's kind of crazy. Like, if it's manga and anime, the same people engage with both. But if it's superhero stuff in the US, people will watch the movie and act like the comics don't even exist. You don't think that's crazy? You don't think that's whack? So Marvel and DC are very lucky they have these films making millions of dollars because if they didn't, they would go bankrupt in a heartbeat because no one is buying their stuff. But you see how like when you have people who say, "Oh, people don't read comics," that's really just not true. Like there are so many people every month who go on what's that website, Viz, whatever the website is of the guys that translate manga, and every time there's a new chapter of Super, they go and read it. There's no show. There's some games, but their main place of content is reading 40 black and white pages every month, and they do it. Same thing with Boruto. Every time there's a new chapter, they go over there and read it. My Hero Academia, they go over there and read it, and they'll still watch the show too. Hell, you actually have some people, like yours truly, who prefer the manga to the show because the manga usually has better pacing. Like I always tell this story when I watched the original Naruto, it has some of the best pacing of any anime in my opinion. 130 episodes condensed, 220 chapters, with filler that you can skip if you don't want to see it. But I like it because it gives like other characters something to do. But with Shippuden, that 500 episode juggernaut, I went and read the manga for the rest of it. Right, but do you see how it's so weird that people who are fans of Japanese shows will read Japanese comics, but people who are fans of American superheroes will see them in a movie and then like have no interest in reading anything with them in it. Do you get where I'm coming from of how that's why it's really funny to see these films make all this money, but it never translates to because Marvel Comics and DC Comics are comic book companies. So their main thing gets completely overshadowed by this other thing year after year that is like kind of carrying the weight for them, like the other stuff they want to do. You'll see where that's very like ironic that the main thing they have going for them, the comics, gets completely trumped and ignored in favor of, some films. Man, I remember the first time I went online and read about Black Panther's publication history. It was like his book really got canceled 6 times. Oh my god! And I don't think he's a bad character at all. But it's just my point is when people keep telling you this character matters, this character is so important. You go look at Spider-Man or Batman or Superman. Their books have never been canceled. Even when DC was going bankrupt and canceled every other book, they kept the main trio of the two of them and Wonder Woman continuously going. And they also kept. I mean, Marvel has had Spider-Man going since '63. So you get the point that characters who actually matter don't get their books canceled. Just like I told this story before. X-Men went for 4 or 5 years and then it got canceled, and there were no new X-Men comics for half a decade before Giant Size X-Men #1, where they have like the team get new members with Wolverine and Storm and Colossus and Nightcrawler, all the rest of them. They rescue the previous members along with Cyclops, and then after that, and Chris Claremont start writing the book, that became Marvel's best-selling title besides Spider-Man. Megumi says, "Hey, dude, glad I caught the stream this time. Also, yes, that is a weird phenomenon. Oh, that's not the only weird phenomenon. We'll get into the other one later. But my point is, when characters actually matter, their books don't get canceled, which is why after X-Men got canceled and got brought back and completely exploded in popularity under Chris Claremont with, Days of Futures Past, the Dark Phoenix saga, the introduction of Rogue and Psylocke and Shadowcat and Jubilee and all the rest of them, you never saw that book get canceled again. You have had continuous X-Men comics since the '70s, and it all started from then on. But again, Akatsuki Merchant, you can say two people are two, which there are a lot of people who are who like they won't even read a book with pictures, is what I always just marvel at. But remember, when people are fans of Dragon Ball or One Piece or Naruto, whichever one of these Japanese properties you want to talk about, they will watch the show and they will read the manga. Like when people make videos, new Boruto chapter 62, you see thousands of views because everyone's all excited. Oh, what's gonna happen in this chapter? Oh, Kurama just died. Like they actually will engage with both forms of content for this particular series, is what I'm conveying. So it doesn't make any sense to me where, remember, if more people are seeing, like if you get 1 billion people to see a movie about a character, how that doesn't translate to sales of the comic because they're being exposed to a billion people. Like, even if only a million people that out of that billion that went to go see that movie buy comics, that still is better than damn near anything from either Marvel or DC that's selling well now. So you get my point that it's not about just people being too lazy, but also the fact that these films are like getting like very huge financial success and are being seen by millions, if not in some cases billions of people, and they can't even get like 2% of those people to go and pick up comics about that same character that when they get canceled, none of them care because they don't actually care about the character. I think when people actually care about a character, they don't just sit there and get excited for a movie every couple of years. They talk about all the stuff they like and dislike that people who are in charge of that character will, they have a problem with. Kurama died even though Kishimo said the Jinchuriki were immortal, but hey, I guess doesn't matter since Naruto is no longer. Yeah, it's just, dude, listen, everything they do in Boruto that happens to a character from the original series is just to get like make people get excited because they know the ones they currently have are mostly just clones of the ones that were there before. So they have to do something that actually matters to get you excited. That's why in the show they had a whole, what was it, 4 or 5 episode flashback time travel arc where you had Jiraiya and Neji in there. Like, they know that none of the characters they make, Boruto included, people really like or find it interesting. So they're aware that they have to go and drudge up somebody else. Like, don't be surprised if before Boruto ends, we get Madara again, which I wouldn't mind, by the way, because I already explained that what they did to him, how they like want this really great antagonist with all this lore that's been built up since damn near the start of the series, and you're gonna replace him with some floating broad. That I was like, what the? That's how you knew Kishimoto had lost his mind. But like I was saying, when people are actually fans of a character, they are actively like discussing it without having to need a movie. Like, for example, if we were just to like go through X-Men for just give you there was the premise of X Factor is that it's the original 5 members as a team again. Because the X-Men had like continuously had different memberships after the original 50 something issues. And one of the problems with having the original 5 as a team is that they wanted to have Scott and Jean be a couple again, but Scott was married. So in a move that really pissed off Chris Claremont, they had Scott leave his wife and newborn baby for his high school girlfriend. and and you had people who were pissed off over that because you just character assassinated someone who we'd never been shown to be promiscuous. You just did this like really weird thing to make it make sense that he would leave his wife for this woman that's been dead for years. You get the idea that it was something that pissed off fans of the character because they didn't think it was in character for him to do, and it made him look like trash. You see the same thing with Spider-Man. Like, no one I know that's an actual human being that's read this comic likes One More Day. They don't like the hero who's supposed to be about great power and great responsibility making a deal with the devil. And you can go past that too. No one I know likes the what was that, the JMS story where they had it be revealed that Gwen had kids with Green Goblin and they're like adults that rapidly aged. Like, no one I know likes those stories. But since they actually care about the character, they discuss that stuff and they pay attention to it and they say, "Hey, look, this one over here was good. This one over here was trash." You don't see them when a movie comes out. "Oh, I love this character so much," and then for the next 2 3 years they just disappear. And then another movie comes out. "Oh, I love this character so much." So that's the point I was making. That when you see people who are like blowing all this smoke up about, "Oh, Black Panther matters so much," don't believe them. Because if he did, his book wouldn't have been canceled repeatedly. Having a long ongoing book is one of the easiest things you can do as a prominent comic character. Like there are a lot of people who barely knew who Iron Man was before what was that? The first movie came out, 2008. He still had his own book for 40 years, his own ongoing title from 68 to, then. Um, including a run by Matt Fraction that I've heard is really good. I haven't read any Iron Man comics in years, but my point is when you have someone who can't even like get the bare minimum of an ongoing title and you're going to tell me they're so iconic and memorable, like, get out of here. I swear, man, every person I know in real life that was like fawning over the Black Panther movie never talked about him before the movie came out. I just thought that was so funny. Like they just like, who is it? Because I remember like early 2000s Marvel, like people would talk about Fantastic Four, they would talk about X-Men, they would talk about Spider-Man. Like there's a reason why he didn't get a movie until what 3-4 years ago, because he's not that big of a deal. We're really at the point where Marvel's giving everybody a movie. I've always liked how the mangas have very good pacing of the story. Yeah, and it's kind of funny too, because like I always say that a lot of times I like the manga more than the the show because of its pacing. But you can say the same thing about superhero stuff as well. Like I think the Dark Phoenix comic is amazing. This 8 issue story that has like foreshadowing before that of Jean Grey like losing her mind with the Phoenix taking over. Um, but every time it gets adapted outside of the 90s X-Men cartoon, it's trash. I think X-Men 3 and Dark Phoenix, the movie, are garbage. And it really sucks because they took this classic story and just botched it both like twice. Like I don't even I'm not as big of a fan of the I guess X-Men movies as other people are, but I would say that the Days of Future Past adaptation they did was okay. Like it wasn't great, and it did annoy me that they didn't let Kitty be the one to go back in the past, and they did another Wolverine movie. But I still would take that over the garbage from X-Men 3 and Dark Phoenix. But again, I'll still admit that the actual comic was better. So a lot of times the text version is better than the one that's on screen because one on screen has a lot of like weird stuff in it. Like one of the whole problems with these shows that are based on these ongoing series is that they can never go past the events of the manga, so they have to have filler. And sometimes it's filler I like, but a lot of people have a problem with that. Like you had people like, I like Dragon Ball Kai. I'm like, well, I mean, I guess, but I never had a problem with Z. Like comparatively speaking, DBZ is pretty short compared to most other like big major manga in their adaptation. Like Shippuden is literally the original Dragon Ball and Z combined in terms of length. Like you can watch both of those in the time it takes to watch Shippuden. So you get the idea that people are always in a rush, but some stuff I'm fine with if they want to add more things. I watched an interview with Kishimoto where he said the reason he debuffed Naruto was because he wrote himself into a corner and didn't know what to do with him in Boruto. I just think that Boruto is a very lazy series that is getting sucked off by people, and I can't find almost any enjoyment out of it. I'll never forget when people were saying, "Wait until 100 episodes and then it'll start getting good." I've never seen any other series, whether it's American, Japanese, whatever, where you were expected to wait until it got to 100 episodes to start having quality. I've never seen that. I know some people will say they only watch a show for 2 or 3 episodes, and if it's bad, they'll leave it alone. And even though I tend to be more forgiving based off of how okay I think it is, I can't like justify watching 99 episodes of trash to then say, "Oh yeah, the 100th one, yeah, I'm gonna stick with it." I just can't who would do that? Hey, Akatsuki Merchant, do me a favor. I'm gonna link you my email so we can discuss this Killmonger solo movie. The greatest Marvel. You know, there was another publication. They did a ranking of all 32 MCU films and show. They said that Black Panther was number 7 and that Killmonger was arguably the best villain to date. I was like, what do you what? Whatever. I don't understand people at all. He's just another one movie. You can always add me on Piscord. Yeah, I'll be right to do that. Everybody I add on that website pisses me off, so I don't know, something bad might happen for that if that occurs. I feel so bad for Ryan Coogler. Like Megumi, imagine you write a movie and it makes $1 billion. You write and direct it, then you start writing the second one, and then the main actor, like the last one starred, just dies out of nowhere. You had no idea this person was sick, and now you have to completely rework your script at the same time as people are telling you you should have kept the character alive and gotten another actor. I feel so bad for him. Like I'll see Black Panther 2 just to support him. Like that's a really horrible situation to be in. Like it's not his fault at all when you have people just freaking out over it. I barely use Discord unless I'm talking to a friend. I'm not a psychotic freak. Oh, believe me, we have a lot of psychotic freaks to discuss. Let me close this window. This guy is outside. Oh, yeah, it's very unfortunate, and it's like I can't like regardless of how good this movie is, I really feel bad for him. He wrote an entire script with this actor as the lead again because it's a sequel to the first one. Then the actor just out of nowhere dies, and now he has to almost apparently write multiple versions of the script to accommodate this. Jesus Christ. So he has my sympathy. Like Ledger's death was really sad too, but at least with when he passed away, they didn't have any type of script done for Batman 3, like Nolan's Batman 3. So it didn't like mess up any of their scripting. Like all we know is that Nolan had like ideas, but he didn't have a finished script. Here, take this for some consolation. Oh, thanks. I appreciate it. I had this one this one relative, like last year, tried to make fun of me for being unemployed and was like, "You think you're so smart, but you still can't get it." And I was just like, you know, and I say this in complete sincerity, and I'm not joking at all. If I was a chick, like, and I had the same personality, as in interested in the same stuff and same type of content, I would get thousands of views like that, especially if I was on Twitch or some other website, because you have chicks on YouTube who don't even show their face and they get men to donate to them and like, watch all their stuff because they think their voice is hot, which is the easiest way to be hot ever. It's just doing whatever. So, it's just really funny that they would say that because people always act like this is still the 50s or 40s and women are like these second class citizens, but they're not. Um, they get a lot of benefits, especially when they go online with all of these different men that'll give them money for doing nothing. Um, so I just thought it was really funny that they were like trying to make me feel bad. I was like, yeah, the only reason any of this is difficult is because I don't have a vagina. If I had one of those, a lot of stuff would be infinitely easier. Like I know the VA thing would be a lot easier because like every time I've dealt with a guy as a voice actor, they don't do the weird stuff that chicks do. They don't like abruptly quit on you or suddenly I don't feel like doing this anymore. So everything would be easier. But it's really funny that you still have chicks that think they're oppressed. It's like I'm so oppressed that when I make up accusations about someone with no proof and people believe me instantly, that's a testament to how oppressed I am to be instantly believed when I claim something. I can't even get people to believe me if I go and like show proof of crazy encounters with chicks. Like I always say that when I recorded the one that was like saying all the explicit stuff in that call, I did that because I knew if I made a video and I said, "Oh, there was this woman that spoke to me like this, and here's what she said, and I'm gonna read it," I'd have like a lot of people who would say, "Oh, you're probably making this up," because that's what they used to do. So I try to not think about that because it really is depressing when you think about it. The honest truth. Magumi, you're aware that on a website, like not this one in particular, but like Twitch, for example, you have chicks that don't even do anything other than play other people's videos while they eat food or like play a video game. And they're not, and like, I also want to clarify there's a guy I watch, he has 600 subs and he plays DBD Mobile. I'm sub to him entirely because he's actually a skilled player. Like he has been able to get people to chase him for like 2-3 whole minutes. So when I say like all they do is play games, I'm not even just talking about playing games. They're not good at these games, and the only reason they're supported is because the people watching them think they're hot. They could literally be the president of the United States and they'd still say women are oppressed. Like what? Yeah, because it never stops. And I told you, oppression of women in the US has never been to the extent of some of these other countries. So I said, "You lucky I don't have a vagina because if I did, this whole like issue with trying to like trying to get hired somewhere. If you just come on here and make videos and like have the same work ethic, you would get paid and definitely get more viewers. It's so funny to have them actually sit here and act like my personality isn't enough. It's like no, it's only not enough because I don't have tits. Like there are chicks that have been paid on here like massive money for doing a hell of a lot less than I do. They don't edit videos, they don't research anything. It's really comedic. Like people actually sit here and act like I'm supposed to be ashamed over something. It's like give me a break. Yeah, like in the Middle East, women can't even walk out the house without covering every part of their body. Yeah, and that's why it's funny to have these American chicks acting like they're so like they're indentured servant. And we already talked about the only groups of chicks that actually had to deal with screwed up stuff historically were black and Native American, which the majority of the chicks in the US are not. So I don't feel bad for them. I have people tell me to feel bad for chicks that have kids that they can't afford by their own decision. Like it's like a parody at this point, man. Feel bad for this woman who destroyed her own life. It's like I'd rather not. Megumi, imagine if I was a chick and I was like on here, I was like, so today we're gonna talk about the news. Like I bet you would see all kind of people watching my stuff and donating. Because again, when they don't even do stuff, they get people to donate. Like you have chicks that post pictures of them like this on Instagram or some other website, and people donate for that trash. So I have no doubt if I had tits, it would be a whole different story. Because we talked about before how unlike men, chicks are encouraged to be individuals. So you can have chicks that aren't interested in like any of the stuff I'm interested in, and people will say that's okay. And if they're into the stuff I'm in, it would also be accepted. So I have no doubt that it would be a complete oasis of like a bunch of guys going, if I had some tits, it would be a whole different story. It wouldn't even be a damn anything close. Yeah, I know. Unfortunately, it is even encouraged by these websites as well, like Twitch. I told you this one person got in trouble because she was playing the last Airbender, like the show, just watching it. I'm like, when people have a watch party and they're talking over it, that's one thing. Like that's actual fair use. When all you're doing is sitting there and just you have the show in a little window, and then you're like this, you're not even you're literally stealing content. And people paid her, thousands of dollars to do that. Since they are aware that is how they get their revenue. Yeah, they encourage it absolutely because they put these people on the front of their websites on the front page. But you know what? It's even worse because she's not even like her reactions are literally her eating food or laughing, and maybe she'll say something every 5 minutes. But it's so lazy. Like this isn't transformative at all. I hate reaction videos, man. I'm really almost every time I see one of those in my recommended, I just click off or try to like scroll away. It's they're probably my most hated type of content on this website because they don't add anything. There's nothing special about them. I just think it's extremely lazy. But whatever. People get, and it's the worst thing too when you see thousands of views and now you're like, what are people even seeing in this? I blame the people who pay these types of creators. Well, you'll be happy to know I've never subsidized abroad for just sitting in front of a camera playing a video game horribly. Also, James, I'm actually probably going to demod you. I saw the video that was made on you where they revealed that you've been stealing your lyrics from other artists, and the video actually got about 40,000 views. So you've been exposed by Butt Muncher 75, and he's definitely revealed all of your evil. So this is your last day as a mod. I'm sorry that to come to this, but you can't go around stealing people's music. They worked very hard to create those words, and it's totally ridiculous that you would do such a theft. Yeah, you're gonna do an interview with what's that radio station that interviewed James Franco, Sirius XM or something? No, Megumi, there was a chick that has been stalking another woman on this website for about 8 years, and she got exposed back in June, and she didn't make any videos at all until about 3 weeks ago at the end of last year. Um, and in the comment section, when she's like all angry or whatever, she's like, before you ask me why didn't you respond to what this person said or what Butt Muncher 75 said in his 45 view video. And like the in joke is that that's actually a real channel that just exposes people in the video. Sometimes get a lot of views, sometimes they don't. I just thought that was really funny. Just at the end of her videos, like, to the people telling me to end my life, better luck next time. I just can't imagine like having some other person that used to date the same person you did, and then you spend years like trying to get them fired from their job and trying to like investigate what social media they have. Like she's so obsessed with this other woman. She was able to tell that she didn't live with her dad anymore because of like the background in her pit. I was like, what in the world? So I said, people online are creepy. I'm going to look up your information and actively watch you year after year, but I'm not obsessed with you. And then they had that one saga where apparently the guy wanted to be a mute because a lot of people try to be musicians. So he moved out of his he convinced her to become homeless by choice. Like they were in there like sitting in their car working jobs and sleep like just sleeping in their car, and they would use like we call it Starbucks as like a place to meet people. It's like, man, you must, they're really weird and creepy, but she must have really been in love with him. So, because if I had some broad who was telling me, "Oh yeah, let's go live in my car if you want to," no, goodbye. I can tell if you still live with your dad based off of the color of the wall behind you in this picture. And the broad they're like messing with is like not even bothering them either. That's the funny part. Oh my god. I'll tell you, if you see some of the just strange stuff that happens on this site, I've never seen it before. Where you're so obsessed with somebody that you know where they live, but like what if they're in a different house based off the color of the wall, and then you have like a whole what is it Google Drive with different pictures and screenshots of them. It's like what is this? Yeah, they do that kind of thing because they know they can get away with it. Oh yeah, she definitely is getting away with it. As far as like not getting in any legal trouble, because she did try to get this woman fired from her job, which I think is really insane. Um, you know, but they just get away with all kind of gross stuff on here. 2 hour video about this at the end of the year. This kind of creepy behavior would not be tolerated in real life. Oh, it definitely wouldn't. That's why they do on the computer. I told you a lot of the more stranger stuff you see online, just with like the way people treat other people. It's not something that would be tolerated in real life. Like you might not get in trouble for it, like somebody beats you up or anything, but you would at least have people would say, "Hey, that's screwed up." Like they wouldn't try to make it sound like you did something that was good. So unfortunately, when you're online, a lot of people think they're immune, like they're like Superman basically. They can just come on here, say whatever they want. Nothing happens to them. But it's just really interesting to me how like I could never imagine being with a woman and then being so obsessed with a man she dated in the past that I'm like watching what he's doing year after year because it's weird. Like it's creepy. Oh, what's the? I think there's like some update. Oh, okay, let me get to the thing with that guy. Now I can discuss this because we have enough people. I was worried we were only gonna have like two or three. Let me see where the message is. Where did I put it? Give me 1 second to locate it. There we go. So we talked about before how there's a lot of guys that are opposed to something I say, and usually their opposition is to not even respond to my points. On the why hook, the video, the why hookers are better than girlfriends video. This guy writes, and this was posted like 2 days ago, so it's very recent. I'm not even going to watch this video. Um, Now you would think if you find a video that you don't like the title of, the thumbnail, whatever, and you're actually not going to watch it, you would just not click on it, not go to it. Like we don't. The person who made the video, other people that watched it, don't need to know that you're so important as to tell us that you're not going to watch this. Like you just wouldn't watch it. You wouldn't engage with it. But he continues. He says, or he writes rather, I had a girlfriend who was a hooker before I met her, and in between falling for her and waiting for her to finish her damn appointments, it's literally a Pandora's box, the title of this video, because a hooker can't be a girlfriend, but a girlfriend can surely be a hooker for other guys, etc., etc. Depends which glasses you want to put on. So what he's saying here is that he dated a hooker who he knew was a hooker before he started dating her. And then because he's such a horny idiot, he thought he was going to, I guess, change her, or she would like treat him with some kind of specialness, right? And then it didn't work out. So I guess that like turns him off to my video, even though in the actual video and in every other piece of content I've made addressing this issue, I have never once advocated for a man to pursue a serious romantic relationship with a hooker. It's never come out of my mouth. I've said if you want a date from them, you can get a date with them, because you don't have to be someone's boyfriend to go on a date with them. If you want one to bang you, you can pay one to do that. But I've never once said you should pursue a serious romantic relationship with a hooker. Not once. Oh, I'm definitely probably going to make a separate video about this, because it's not even just that, like, oh, I'm not going to watch this, but I'm going to leave a comment on it. It's the idea of you do not deserve to have the points you want to make heard by me, because it wasn't just me in the video speaking. I also have my comment section where you can see what people are writing. So no one in this video, whether the person speaking it or the people writing on it, deserve to be listened to by me. But they should hear about my sad, tragic backstory with my whole girlfriend that I knew was a damn hooker before I even got with her. So no sympathy for me. I can't believe the person whose job it is to do dirty, disgusting stuff with men continued to do dirty, disgusting stuff with men after I got with her. Who would have thought? Like, how are you going to not watch the video? Like, admit you didn't even watch the video, and then write like a whole paragraph where you try to, I guess, combat or address the title? Oh my God. Find yourself a good girl, fellas. One that plays pool, games, music. Don't let your tiny organ dictate what you deserve, period. Because there are no bad girls, because they never could just call them women that play pool or games or music. That those are all things that only good girls do. It's so stupid. We don't know what he assumed. We know that he didn't watch the video because he said it. We know that he willfully, knowingly dated a hooker, and we're supposed to, I guess, sympathize with him or care what he has to say, even though he didn't listen to what I had to say. That's fair. That's right. I'm not going to watch this video, but I'm going to argue against your point anyway, even though I don't know what the point is because I refuse to watch it. Yeah, it's like stupid. So I said it's like all the guys that are opposed to my viewpoint, they do like weird, ridiculous stuff. How many streams have we seen where someone's way of responding to me saying, hey, this chick stuff is not working, it's not getting any better. You should continue speaking to them. Why? Because I feel like you're doing this thing wrong. Okay, so you're just gonna blame me for it happening regardless. Yeah, they love to create drama and they love attention. This clown has made himself redundant anyway. You can't counter an argument when you refuse to even engage with it. Imagine how insane I would look if I do a news story, right? Because Akatsuki Merchant, for like the news stories, I read the article. Imagine if like Politico writes an article and it's like an opinion piece, and they're like, why this person should run for president. And then I go, this person shouldn't run. What was Politico even thinking? I'm not even going to read this article. It's like, if you don't read it, then how do you know what their points were? God, like guys on this website and a lot of these chicks too have the lowest IQs I've ever seen. They can't argue worth a damn. They make ridiculous points when they're trying to say something that they think is profound. They're just worthless. Like every time you listen and read their stuff, you are getting nothing from it. There's no good dialogue, no interesting conversation, just trash. I was talking to my best friend yesterday, and we were talking about the chick that I mentioned on the stream. I think it was last Saturday, the one that every time you have a call with her, whether it's just you and her in there or you, her, and 10 people, she will not say anything other than her playing some stupid game and like making noises in response to whatever's happening in the game. And it was funny because this is a chick that apparently, and I told you, I never understand chicks, just like the way the decisions they make, the way they act. Because so many of them say they want someone that appreciates them for who they are, blah, 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 the usual generic stuff. But then their main base of trying to get attention from men is Tinder, which is literally a site where all people do is swipe a button on someone based off of how hot they think they are. The complete antithesis of getting to know someone. So here's a broad who's been on this website for at least a couple of months, probably a year's or a year, has tried it with multiple men and it hasn't worked out, and is like at the same time speaking to a man that you're actually interacting with because you find them entertaining. Because I got all the little LOLs and all the rest of that trash in my DMs with her, and it's like, how do you pursue a bunch of guys that have been proven to not be what you want based off of this website that you keep using that doesn't yield the results you're seeking? And then the men you meet on other sites that you actually talk to because you like them as people, at least enough to speak to for these long, extraneous, continued periods, you ignore. God, it's like, what is this? Because remember, chicks like to do the woe is me, men only like me for the way I look routine, right? But they're doing the exact same thing when they go on these sites. Like, do you think they're swiping right on men that they don't find attractive? Like, get real. And this isn't the first one I've seen do this. It was the same thing with Triple L. Like, she was on that site and I told this story before, complaining about men that were asking her if she does anal. And I'm like, what do you expect? You're on a website where the only reason anyone talks to anybody is because they think the other person is hot. Gumi says, same. I never got that. Yeah, it's a mystery to me. Akatsuki Merchant says, because they're worthless and have nothing to offer the conversation. Like, am I wrong for having no problem with insulting and mocking these idiots? It's hard to not feel arrogant. And the people arguing with you are subhumanly stupid. Yeah, I've never gone on somebody's video, said, I'm not watching your video, and then wrote stuff. I've never done that, period. If I didn't watch your video, I didn't leave a comment on it. But I just don't understand this like weird Tinder conundrum. Like, I want someone that likes me for who I am. That's why I'm going to go on a website where all people do is care about the way somebody else looks when they want to speak to them. I swear, man, this is a slut saga. Like a slut saga is literally go and speak to a bunch of different men on some platform that is all about appearance while not wanting to be wanted just for your appearance. Talk to men that like you and you enjoy speaking to, but then you're not attracted to because they don't meet your ridiculously high standards. Never find man that you're looking for on these sites, but continue to use them, and the cycle repeats. So that's the slut saga. That's her promiscuous pilgrimage. All they do is the same thing. They go on these websites, talk to a bunch of men that they don't even like, or if they do like, they'll end it after a couple of weeks or whatever, and they'll be right back on the same stupid site to get the same stupid results. Then that's when they say the generic, "Oh, all men are just nasty. I want intercourse, etc." Yeah, they love playing the victim card. I told you they really act like hookers don't exist. Like explain to me where it is beneficial if my true goal is just to have intercourse with someone, for me to speak to a woman who I don't know if she would like me enough to even do that for weeks or months, when I can go to the state right next to mine over the course of this weekend or another weekend, pay a price and get it done. Why would I invest all of this additional time into this broad that is not a guarantee to give me what I want in this scenario? You see, like where their way of thinking, just no matter, every time you try to sit down and logically explain it, no sense, no logic to it at all. This woman stuff, man, it is the bane of everybody's existence. No, they don't learn from their mistakes. I told you the story about, and I'm still gonna do that video. I have to go and review the script. I mentioned the story of the broad I know in real life, who when I was in 10th grade, she was like 21. She had a kid with this boyfriend of hers, not married. They complained instantly that the guy was smoking in front of the kid. All the usual baby mama drama crap, right? And then here we are 5 years later, not 5 years later now, but 5 years later then. She has a new boyfriend, has a kid with him, and it's the same thing repeating itself. A guy you're not married with, that you play Humpty Dumpty with, you crap out their kid. They never put a ring on your finger because you drive them insane because you're not a likable person. And now you've had two kids with two guys that you weren't married to in the span of less than a, what is it? Was it a half a decade? Like there was no difference in her intellectualism ability to like foresee what bad things can come out of this at 26 and there was at 21. She never learned her damn lesson. That's why I said don't be surprised. And I got flack for this. But what is this? She had that kid, and I think it was like 2018. Don't be surprised if next year, with another guy, with another kid. Every 5 years, right? Pop out another one. Yeah, they turn their brain off completely, and then you're supposed to feel sorry for them. She's having a hard time raising her kid that she didn't have to have, but chose to anyway. I tell you, that's a slut saga. I don't want to call her that because I don't, whatever. I don't think she's promiscuous, but I just get so tired of like these people. And it's I remember what I Word Goku said. Most women want kids. Yeah, but they sure as hell don't want a man and a husband. Because if they did, they would get married to the guy that they have the kid with. I already said before, chicks can make men do all kind of insane stuff. Like, you really want me to believe that if a man is dating a woman and she says, "I won't date you anymore until we marry," he wouldn't do it if he knew that like doing that is going to get him the ability to keep do. I mean, give me a break, like just. It's so funny how everyone talks about the power that like people universally agree that chicks have influence over men. You know what I mean? Like they can make them donate to them and do all this different stuff just to acquiesce to their petulance. But then when it comes to chicks actually using their, their like influence on men to get them to marry them, they act like chicks can't do that. Like suddenly that's too far out of their powers, you know? That guy was such a joke. He just turned on you one day because he never was this hostile toward you. It was really weird. You're a coward because you won't do a call with me. You're answering every single thing I'm writing to you, but you're a coward because you want to have some weird uh, debate with a guy over your love life, voice to voice. Like what the hell? Dude, the chick that is doing the Tinder thing that I'm currently speaking to, she said she got her tubes tied, and I sent her a screenshot of the message with that clown wrote, like in response to that, because I was like, why do I have this weird feeling this chick doesn't want kids? So I asked her point blank, do you want children? And she said, oh, I got my tubes tied, like LOL. And then I was like, I knew it in cap locks. And then she said how, and then I sent her a screenshot of that and explained it and all the rest of that. Like I said, man, most chicks, I would argue, don't want kids based off of actual statistics we can pull out. Like we know for a fact, birth rates are at their lowest in over 30 years. Same, just like I'm not going to sit here and go through the whole thing, but like don't let anybody but believe none of what you hear and only half of what you see. So you can have all these clowns online talking about chicks want families, but every time you go up to a woman, she declines actually being interested in any of that. I know chicks that'll pop out multiple kids before they get one ring on their finger. Most women want kids. Decreased birth rate has entered the chat. Well, they just don't believe in logic. That's why a lot of these guys, even if you show proof of insane things done by chicks, they still do like mental gymnastics to make it your fault. You showed too much interest in the woman who said she would marry you. What is the proper amount of interest? I told you they have nothing nice to say, nothing worth listening to. Every time they start writing stuff, I might as well just take a black marker and just color out the text on my thing and just leave it there, or put like a little piece of tape over because it's nothing worth reading. It's just dumb stuff. People really want you to believe this BS, man. It's so sad. Like I wish I had a like nickel for every time I read someone like whether it's in real life or on the internet. Someday a woman will like you back. I could buy a yacht from all the times I've seen that spammed or like guys, if the same thing keeps happening year after year, why the hell is the next one going to be any different? It's like if I came on here and said, eventually the voice actors will no longer give me issues and we will all have a perfectly happy production with regards to seasons of my show. It's like, let's see. In 2018, they gave me issues. 2019, they gave me issues. 2020, they gave me issues. Previous year, I got stabbed in the back by one of them I worked with for multiple years. This is not changing. And it's not me being negative. It is me having basic pattern recognition skills. I don't know why people like have this weird thing where they can't just accept a man looked at a continuous pattern, drew a conclusion, and that's his opinion. Remember, some of these chicks you can talk to for months or years and they still won't like you back. So I just think it's insane. Or they do the other thing where they find you amusing for a while. Not even gonna finish the quote this time. Just know there's a broad that I was talking to for I think it was like 2 months, and then I don't know if she got sick or something happened to her, but anyway, she's like online almost every day, but just won't respond to me. Hasn't responded in like 3 weeks. Same thing with the other one I mentioned, the one that she had some like multiple hours long calls with me. Went from that to then after she breaks up with her boyfriend, completely ignores almost any message I send to her. And it's been like this for 2 weeks. Oh, dude, it was the same thing where they sit there and talk about, oh, you're so funny, and I like speaking to you, and I really enjoy our conversations. They find you amusing for a while, these chicks you talk to on the internet. But the one thing they love more than a friend is to see a friend fail, fall, die trying. In spite of everything you've done for them, eventually they will hate you. Why bother? I swear I'll make a romance video where I just have like an actual recreation of that. Like it's me in the little like little corner like this. Because I've drawn that Goblin costume from the first movie before. I wish, like, I really want to make a video where you hear that quote, but my version of it, and then you see like the screenshots where they're like, you're this, that, and the other, like all the praises, right? And then you get the screenshots where they're like talking trash about you, like you do this to me and you did that to me, all that other crap, like just being nasty after a certain amount of time. It would be perfect because that's what they do. They find you amusing for a while, and then eventually they hate you. Sometimes for the dumbest reasons on earth. Like we talked about the one chick where she's upset because I wouldn't tell her what was bothering me, and she got like passive aggressive and was trying to quote me and insult me. I was like, "What's wrong with you?" Like, yeah, I don't trust you. I don't know you. Told you, part of the slut saga. They can get mad over anything. Imagine if I got mad because someone wouldn't trust me as a random person on a computer with stuff in their personal life. I've had so many people online. They have something that bothers them. They'll tell me. You don't see me throwing a hissy fit. Why won't this person who I barely know tell me about personal things relating to their life? None your damn business. Like this bro won't even have a phone call with you, but you're supposed to tell her about your person. Yeah. I don't think you know me at all. Okay, good. Unfriend me. You won't be missed. Chick 122. Sorry, this is her last week to act the fool, and then it's over. Same thing with the other one. Like my tolerance level for these chicks is at an all-time low. When you keep doing like that same little ridiculous stupid stuff, and I keep saying, hey, look, I don't like this. Can you not do this? And you won't take the warning. She was probably used to have so many of guys she speaks to tell her about their problems or personal stuff. Right, but if someone doesn't feel comfortable telling you something and you choose to get offended by that and to then like say, oh, you make playful accusations about me, like, all right, if I'm so damn bad to speak to, then unfriend me. I won't lose any sleep. Maybe that's why she got offended and overreacted when you refused telling her what was about. Yeah, well, she needs to get over it because she's been doing this stupid stuff for 2 weeks now. And when we get to that third week, that trilogy of weeks where she's acting like insane, so I don't put up with this stuff for too long. You don't owe her a freaking soliloquy of your personal. I told you they want me to be like Woody Allen and just sit back in like a rocking chair and be like, yeah. So there was this one time when I was 11, my mother thought I was drinking. I'm really imagining like that's what she wants me to do. Like just sit back in the chair, all relaxed and comfortable. Yeah, man, there was this one time that this thing happened, and it's always I had an issue with it, and I just felt the need to discuss this with it. Yeah, she's entitled. You know what? We're gonna do a social experiment. I'm gonna be like, hey, you know what? I'll tell you what bothered me that day. If you tell me about your, let's see, your like she told me all the different states that she's lived in, even though I don't remember at whatever. Be like, oh, tell me about this about you, that about you. Like I can play the stupid game too, where random internet person needs to know all this personal stuff about you. Yeah, but see, that's why I told you that chicks are the only people that act like this, that get upset over stuff that has nothing to do with them, nothing personally directed toward them. You saw the same saga, although it was a little bit different. I guess had like some variations, but you remember the broad that got like was like it's extremely immature to make videos about people that piss you off and be the bigger person, all that trash. You remember that? Me and her literally didn't have any more conversations. She was on my friend list for like I think 2 more weeks after before I got rid of her. We didn't have any more conversations after that because I'm not about to sit here and have people tell me that someone can treat me like trash and then they also get to control how I respond to them treating me like trash. Like if that broad wants to ignore me for 2 weeks because I didn't tell her something about my personal life, I should be able to make a video where I screenshot everything she wrote to me and I, blur out the names, whatever, and talk about how stupid she is. That's all something I should be allowed to do. What does she think this is? An RPG where she can pass a speech check to get more information out of you? This isn't Fallout Lady. I've just never seen somebody get like that mad over another person saying, I don't want to talk about this. Like I said, man, she's on her last leg with as far as me being interested in speaking to her because this is really stupid. There's another drudged up controversy by the over dramatic chicks. That's be like a baseball team, the over dramatic chicks, the OCs, and then their avatar, their like mascot is like some big head, like the like the big heads they put on the mascot of like some woman just screaming. The over dramatic chicks. That's their team. I'm mad. Why are you mad? Because this woman or this man wouldn't tell me about what was happening with him. Why doesn't he trust me? Well, he barely knows you. Yeah, but he should still tell me. Why? Uh, I mean, oh well. Like I said, if I got mad at some woman because she wouldn't tell me about stuff that has nothing to do with me, um, I'd look like a lunatic. But they can do this stuff to you, and people. And to be fair, I haven't seen anyone because I don't like talk about this stuff in real life with people. But everyone I tell this story to, and I like read the messages like verbatim, like I did on the other stream. They say she sounds insane. Oh, so I'm just tired of weird issues with chicks. I just think they make a lot of stuff that should be simple difficult. Take this thing and move it around. It's even weirder too when you consider that a lot of people, generally speaking, who don't believe that they're that acquainted with someone will keep stuff. It's not their instinctive thing to just be so open about something that bothers them to a random person online. Like I'll tell my best friend stuff that bothers me in some in-depth way, but that's someone I've known for what is it, 15, 16 years. So it's not the same as, oh, here's random computer broad. Let me disclose this to her. Because a lot of times you have people who actually say you shouldn't tell a woman you're interested in about stuff that bothers you because you don't want to appear whiny, like that second guess yourself stuff. Like just answering whenever to go on a date or not, they act like they had a breast cancer diagnosis. She acts the same way about having a phone call. Like, I'm not even joking. It's her and like two other, it's like two or three other chicks. And one, there was a guy on there that was like that too, where like they're, I didn't realize so many people hate having a call. I was like, what is wrong with you? Like, you had one bimbo who said, this is, by the way, the same one that says she wants to stab a child. Not the, how to explain it? Not the chick I just spoke about, but like the one I'm about to speak about. That's the same one that said to like stab a kid and tie him up. That weird, insane stuff. But she's so dumb that she says, I don't want to have a DMVC with someone because people start expressing personal stuff about themselves. So she has me go in this server to have a call with me. And I already mentioned I hate being in calls with 5, 6, 7, 8. I think it's whatever. And then she starts talking about personal stuff with herself, where she works, what state she's in. Like, you get the irony. It's like, I would hate to have a person. Dude, don't make me, James. Don't make me go back in the DMs with her and look at whatever insane thing she wrote and like quote it verbatim. It was something about tying a child to a chair, stabbing it 50 times, and then making another child watch that before she snaps its neck. Just like weird psychotic stuff that I really like. It makes me sick to my stomach to even mention that. Well, I said something is wrong with chicks, but nobody wants to accept this. Well, yeah, that's why after I got out of that server, I unfriended her instantly. It's like, nope. Yeah, I don't talk to villains. If you start saying like weird, evil stuff, I'm good. Remember, all chicks are completely normal, sane, and are angels that can do no wrong. Look, I'm very tolerant of a lot of different stuff. Like if you have someone who wants to get back at another person who's done something to them, then I can like I don't agree with it, but I can still kind of understand. But just like here's random kids that I find annoying, so I want to kill them. Like there's something wrong with you. But that's not even the only thing that she did. She was sending me pictures of knives and what was the other thing? It was like swords that she had, and was saying she was happy to live in Arizona because there were no knife laws. Yeah, I got out of that. Like, what in the world is this? That's why I said there's something wrong with and it's I guess it's really funny when people give you the benefit of the doubt so much that you get people who are just like not willing to accept that there's something wrong with you. So you can say things like that and have people like I mentioned this around somebody else. They said, "Oh, maybe she was joking." I'm like, no, you don't write something like that and send actual weapons, like pictures of them, right, as a joke. So, well, yeah, because remember, when you're online, a lot of people think they're immune, that they can say whatever they want with no penalty. So it's just a really sad sequence. Give me a second. I'm gonna go get this. So, okay. Give me a second. I'm gonna go get this thing. I think somebody dropped something in front of my house. I'll be right back. Oh. Okay. Definitely had some mental problems. And then Megumi says that's why I dislike most. That's what I dislike most about people online. Yeah, they just think that through being anonymous, they can act and say any kind of insane thing with no ramifications. Remember the broad from the Thought Trilogy video that said, I don't want to live anymore by or something in my DM with her? I told you, these chicks are so psycho. And I swear, I don't have, like, I think of crazy messages, like stuff that just sounds insane. It's always a chick that wrote it. Like, the only time men write something weird is in my comment section, like random creepy guys on the computer. But like people I choose to speak to, overwhelmingly, if they're writing insane stuff, it's usually a chick. I don't have any men tell me to be the bigger person if I make a video about someone that was saying nasty stuff or doing something nasty to me beforehand. I don't have any men that are talking about wanting to hurt innocent children. I don't like it's only chicks that write that weird stuff. And some of it is not as weird as other stuff that other ones have written, but it's all still like, like what are you talking about? What are you thinking? That kind of thing. Oh God. Swear this woman stuff just has they get away with everything. They can say insane stuff, make threats to people, just nothing, no type of issue, no consequence ever. Definitely has some mental problems. No. And then the chick that she was like best friends with was the one that was like trying to say get some B words to me. And I was like, why does a gay woman care if I have a girlfriend? Like, is she trying to apply for the position? Because she said she was a lesbian, right? So she's not attracted to men. So why does it matter to her if I'm single? I don't really understand. It's like a conflict of interest. No, she was acutely aware of her friends' weird stuff. I was like, usually I don't like to do the guilt by association thing, but it's like that this person says stuff like that and you still want to talk to them. So I'm getting rid of you as well. You guys can have each other. Like I was already pissed off over that weird comment about get some B words, whatever. But when you add the nastiness of what her friend was saying about wanting to do the innocent children, I decided that yeah, I'd rather not speak to either one of them. Let's have a whole dump. Let's take this weird couple of chicks, just throw them away. I mentioned before, most of the time now when a dialogue with the chick formally ends, it's usually me that says, "Yeah, I'm not putting up with this anymore," and gets rid of them. Because you know why my tolerance level just no more. Like the one that said, "Oh, don't draw me lewd." She came close to getting unfriended after she wrote that because that really pissed me off, and she took it back multiple times before I finally let it go. It was like 2 or 3 times. She's like, "Oh, I didn't really believe this." And when you start saying that weird stuff, it's so bizarre, man. Like I could take every picture I drew that I sent to her and put it on YouTube, and I wouldn't get in any trouble at all because it's all tame, PG stuff that you could show to anybody. The closest to being like non what do you call it, clean that I did was like this one picture. I got like blood on myself or whatever. But even then, that's just a person standing with some blood. You know, they could have hit their head against the wall. Or they could just, just be in it, for whatever reason. Like it's all tame stuff that I could put on here and I would have no issue because none of it is graphic either in terms of gore or being pornographic. So I just don't understand where you even draw a conclusion like that. It's just really weird. Please fill out the forms. Oh, let me see where the rest of this is. Did they send me another email? They sent something like that. I always get a little bit worried. And you can say it's me being negative, but when you keep having bad stuff happen to you over and over, as far as just like the same ridiculous stuff repeating itself, you start to get kind of worried. So I'll just send him a screenshot of the form, and that'll be the result of that. I already said before, I don't get excited over this stuff anymore. So it's just it is what it is. It seems like it doesn't stop either. Every chick you meet on that site seems to be very weird, strange, or mentally unstable in some way after you spend a lot of time a bit of time talking to them. I told you, man, that chick that started ignoring me after her boyfriend broke up with her, she was sending me DMs every day. She had like multiple hours long calls with me, and then the second that thing ended with that guy, she just started ignoring me. It was so weird. It's been like that for almost 2 weeks now. And people will say, "Oh, that's not that much time." It's like, yeah, but if you go from talking to somebody every day to like refusing to acknowledge their existence in the slightest from when this thing unrelated to them happens, right? For multiple days or weeks, it starts to like tally up and make you look even more like what the hell is wrong with you? Like I'm being punished because some other man ended there. Like what the hell? That's why I said that woman stuff is just weird. Every chick you meet on that site seem to be very weird, strange, or mentally unstable. I don't know. It's like they act one way for a little bit, and then you don't even have to do anything to them, and they'll just start acting a different way. Like you had another chick. You remember the one that said, "Oh yeah, it's all right if you message me every day," to then ignore me for a whole week with three different excuses to why she didn't respond to me, then tell me that she needs space and that I can only message her 4 times a month. It's like get the hell out of here. Who are you? But you see how what she said after supposedly just forgetting to respond made her seem even more like a piece of garbage because you can't look at what she did in retrospect and say, oh, yeah, that was just her forgetting for a week. No, that was a test run. She was testing to see how long it would be before you noticed that she wasn't responding back and then trying to like get you accustomed to that for her new weird demand to only speak once every 7 days or so. It's stupid. So I just said, all right, we'll forget it. I don't have anybody that I'm opposed to talking to me as often as they want. As far as like they send me a message. I've never had anybody else do that to me. You can only send me a message once a week. What? So that's the end of that. I was like, this is insane. And again, I'm being completely honest. None of these chicks, and you can get mad, you can get angry, but none of these chicks are so interesting, so dynamic, so important to me that I believe they are worth acquiescing to the petulance of. And what I mean by that is there's no chick that how do I explain it, is so significant in the sense that like they don't like they're nothing, man. Like you get in the call with this broad, she's barely saying anything. She's not making any jokes. She's not funny. She's not interesting. She's just whatever. Like they're none of them are worth jumping through all these hoops and trying to like acquiesce to the specific, desires of, is what I'm conveying. Does she really consider herself that special and above everyone else that she wants you to abide by that? That's crazy. Well, that's why I didn't abide by it. So I don't put up with that trash anymore. I'm not their slave. I'm not in bondage. Hell, they're lucky I even speak to them platonically because I'm really just burnt out on chicks. But remember, I still got the screenshot where she said she was fine with me messaging her daily, right? And then all of a sudden she reneges, and we're supposed to abide by her new command. And what did I say before? They find you amusing for a while. No, that woman's stuff is insane. I'm gonna do that one day as a social experiment. Just go up to like every chick that's all my friends, go like, if you want to speak to me, I would like for this to happen. I wouldn't even say like you must do this, but just it's like, hey, I would prefer if we do this specific thing. Like you must have a call with me once every 7 days or something like that. I told you. Oh, Megumi, did you see the you okay? So you saw the stream from last Saturday, but did you see the one from this past Monday? Because in that stream, I was talking about how there was this chick that said she roots for the killer, and she's just here to see the killer do their thing. And I'm like, it's really insane to me how you root for a person who is evil to be just to be evil, to kill a bunch of innocent people that have done nothing to him. Especially if the innocent people are likable and are well developed and interesting. I don't get it. So I thought she sounded insane. And James was trying to alter what I said. He was like, "Well, some people just like the killer." I'm like, it's not about liking the killer. You can like a villain and not root for them. Like, I like Joker from Dark Knight, but I don't want him to blow up Gotham. Yeah. Well, I'm just saying that really pissed me off because it's like, I just don't understand it. Like, if you write a movie, just this is my perspective, and you take the time to give each of your protagonists something that makes them likable, some kind of development where you show like how they've been affected by this stuff. You're really going to tell me you're rooting for the killer to kill them just because the other person is a killer? Like I don't understand. So that's what I was talking about. It was really driving me nuts. I was like, why would you support him killing a bunch of innocent people that have done nothing to him? Why is that something you root for to happen? It sort of freaked me out knowing how adamant she wants the killer to succeed. Yeah. Like, oh yeah, I love this killer so much. I want him to kill a little innocent girl that did nothing to him. And it was funny because every time she doesn't respond, because on Instagram it'll say like sent, but it said seen. So it's like she knew that because I didn't like curse her out or any like leave any kind of long comment explaining why I didn't like, just kind of like just said I don't agree. and it's like she knew that what she wrote rubbed me the wrong way, like on like some instinctive level, it was really funny. I was like, I don't get that at all. But yeah, James tried to mix up what I was saying. I don't have a problem with somebody liking the villain, but I do have a problem with someone telling me that they want the villain to they're rooting for them. Like that's weird. Like I love Doc Ock in Spider-Man 2, right? As a character, as an imposing threat. I don't want him to blow up New York. And hell, apparently he didn't want to either, which is why he ended up sacrificing himself. Which certainly makes him a much more likable character than that. I can be sympathetic toward than a lot of these slashers who have no personality other than I'm evil to just be evil. Same thing with Green Goblin. Like I really like the split personality thing, where even as the evil Goblin, he still has like love for his son and in like a twisted way. Very interesting character that I do like, but I don't want him to kill, you know, innocent people that did nothing to him. Which is actually that's one of the reasons Green Goblin is like a really interesting villain in the first Raimi movie because every person we see him try to actually kill, he views as having done something to him. Like he kills the board members that fired him. He kills the one guy that he works with that messed up their delivery. Was like we have to take it back to formula. He tries to kill Mary Jane after she basically kind of cheats on Harry with Peter. It's like everyone he goes after, he feels has wronged him or his son. So you can kind of infer that if he did succeed, he wouldn't just randomly be going around attacking innocent people. Which again makes him more interesting and have more redeeming qualities than these slasher villains who just kill innocent people just to kill innocent people. You get the idea. It's not about liking the villain that bothered me. It's just how do you like them to such an extent that you want them to succeed in murdering a bunch of innocent people that did nothing to them? Whatever. So people are so weird on here. And I also gave the example that if I was writing a horror movie and I've got two, three, four main characters who I give development to, I try to make interesting to watch, just like actually add to their character, like try to develop in some specific ways to make them likable and people that you support and want to see succeed because they're trying to stop an evil person from killing a bunch of innocent people. And you tell me that you're rooting for the the evil person who all I have to do to write them is just have them kill people. That's their whole personality. Over the people who are actually likable and well developed. That'll piss me off because it's like all the work I did to make them who you want to see, you're just like, you throw it out the window. So I don't know. My first instinct with her was always to get rid of her because the first interaction I had with her was her leaving a comment on one of my videos, and it was really generic. It was like, great video. And I hate comments like that because they don't tell you how to improve. They don't tell you what they liked. Just extremely lazy as a comment. It's very awful. I'd rather not even have somebody comment than get that. Because like I don't see what is beneficial from just being told something is good. What's good about it? But whatever. So I was like really tempted to just delete the comment and ignore her, but I was like, I don't know what it was. Like I guess I was just trying to be nice, and that led me to this dialogue with this person. Yeah, it's extremely generic. But you get the idea that if a writer takes the time to develop their protagonist, and they know that for an effective villain, it just has to be someone that's like menacing and threatening. and you tell them that you're rooting for the villain over the people that actually have a bunch of redeeming qualities, like that would piss them off, right? So I just don't understand that at all. And I came really close to cutting that whole interaction off. Like I said, man, these chicks, when you start talking to them, they say weird. Like I can see why a lot of chicks are not talented. Like, yeah, they can they might sometimes be able to edit something, but like actually saying stuff that's like witty or that requires some level of being able to think, they can't do it almost ever. I understand now, like why most stuff is written by men. Literally every single female character that's worth a piss was made by a man. Like I'm not even joking. Wonder Woman made by men, Storm made by men, Psylocke made by men. I mean, we can go down the list. Invisible Woman made by men. Like that. That's why, because men are the ones who are actually creative. Yeah, that would be an insult to the writer, indeed. But they don't think. No, they don't. They just, she just gets horny over seeing a guy in the mask kill a bunch of innocent people. That's what turns her on. So she doesn't care about the story or any of the other stuff that this writer tried to accomplish with their creation. Megumi, have you ever noticed that every single female character that is like actually good was made by men? Have you, like, all the ones that are considered great characters or generally well received were made by men? Have you noticed that? Have you know like have you like thought about like all the different in fiction, like prominent female characters, like every single one that's well received was made by. Look at The Last Airbender. People suck off that show, and it is. I think it's a great show. But it's like Katara, Toph, Azul, all of them made by men. The I'm forgetting their names. I don't know how to pronounce the two guys' last names, but they wrote the whole show with Aaron Ehas. So like, yeah, made by men. Every time, look at Aliens. Ripley's considered one of the best female protagonists in all of cinema. I wonder who wrote that movie. No, Wonder Woman was made by what was it, William Marston, the psychiatrist, and his it was either his wife or that girl that lived with them used to have the little arm bracelets, and that's what he based those off of for her costume. Every single important and well-liked female character throughout all of history was made by men. Let me see who wrote. Okay, Ripley was made by Dan O'Bannon and Ronald. Yeah, so two men. Has anybody else noticed that pattern? That every time there's some really good female character that people say is great, it's always one that was made by men. Like females are better represented in fiction than they are by other chicks. Have you noticed that? Like the only female writer that anyone actually kind of slightly says is really good is J.K. Rowling, the Harry Potter writer, and even she's been excuse me, even she's been getting in trouble for saying some crazy stuff on Twitter. But has anyone else noticed that every single prominent, well liked, great female character was made by men? I'm telling you, man, chicks do not know how to write. And it's not even like I'm not trying to be how I explain it. This is not based around saying that there's no woman that can write or anything. I'm not saying that, but what I am conveying is when you start looking at a lot of the weird stuff that like happens with these interactions I have with chicks, it makes a lot of sense that they're not that creative. They're not witty. They don't like say anything that you find particularly clever. They're just kind of there. Like, they just kind of it coexists with you and I. Like, and the only reason they get paid attention to by us is because if we're attracted to them romantically, we kind of accept the fact that they're not really that all that interesting as people. Which again, I don't think somebody should have to be some comedian to get a date, but it's like don't sit here and try to psychoanalyze my personality as if all these chicks are well put together and everything they say is so interesting and they're all so dynamic. Like a lot of these chicks are boring, and when they aren't boring, they're psychopaths. Like the one that was in my DMs talking about trying to stab a child while they're tied up to a chair. So I just think that it's so insane that people like hype them up when they're never really they don't have anything over you and I. Like they're not more creative than us. They're damn sure only in certain instances more well off, but you know that's usually not because they did some amazing thing. They just get in front of a camera and have a bunch of guys donating to them. Oh, don't say that too loud, dude. Even though it's true. I want you to really think of every single prominent, well liked female character that you can think of just in fiction. And I guarantee it was a man that made her, that wrote her and like actually developed her and made her interesting. It was almost every time it's a man. Dude, I swear, like, I'm so tired of people hyping up chicks. Like, if you listen to the stuff people say, and I always explain that it's not about everything necessarily having to be 50-50 or completely fair. But it's like so extremely slanted in favor of chicks that it's like a joke at this point. Like, imagine having this extremely bland group of people. And I swear to you, I can go through all of my conversations with them. I have never laughed once at a single joke any of them have made because they're not funny. But I do have multiple screenshots of them putting LOL when I make a joke or recording of them laughing. So it's always you're entertained either by something you said or they're entertained by something you said. Never you entertained by something they said because they're not that interesting of people. I didn't know you had. Okay. Where did James go? Is he still here? Is he still around? Did he disappear into obscurity? Did he fade away with nothing left to say? No, but like the way she was typing and the way this other person were typing. James, I want do me a favor. Think of the like best female characters you've ever seen, and then like go on Google or some other website that will tell you who made them and see how many of them were made by women. I guarantee you probably if you find any that you really like, they're made by men. Just checked up a few female characters I really like in fiction. They were all made by men. Well, that's why when you said the thing about Storm, like what was that 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago? You remember you were like talking about how great she was or that you really liked her. I mentioned I brought her up because I distinctively remember she was made by men. No, female representation, whenever it's actually like really well done, it's usually by men. Like it's men just happen to be better writers than chicks, unfortunately. Like a lot of people, if you look at Wonder Woman, for example, they hold up the George Perez run on her book as like the best, like the definitive, distinct, like greatest stories of her. Like this really big transformative period for the character. And she's been written by women like Gail Simone, and nobody talks about that because it wasn't seen as being as good as George Perez's run. But that's why I said that like it's so funny to have people talk about chicks needing more representation. They don't get whatever. It's like most female representation in fiction that is done well is by men. And that should tell you something. One, it really destroys, like, one of the reasons I really like X-Men is, well, there's multiple reasons. One of them is the whole, like, they're like an allegory for the oppressed group. Like mutants are treated the same way that other ethnic groups and minorities have been treated, like they're like without being overly preachy about it. Um, but also just the fact that the like it has a lot of really great female characters in it as well. Like after Giant Size X-Men #1, when Storm shows up and then Jean joins a few issues later back to the team, you always have at least two chicks on the team, and then you get Kitty Pryde and you get Rogue and all the rest of them start showing up. So it's just really funny that like most of the really good female characters were made by men. The same group that supposedly sexualizes chicks and sees them as nothing but sex objects. All the rest of that, patriarchy is so evil, trash. Oh, she finally responded. Ignore somebody for 2 weeks because they don't want to tell you about their. Like right now, she responded. I just looked on there. But James, if you go through and look at every prominent, well-liked female character in fiction, it's always made by a man because men have represented chicks in stories better than chicks represent themselves, which is why nobody holds up the Twilight as being like this great, amazing tale, for example. I'm just using that because I'm trying to think of like prominent books that were written by women, and it's kind of hard outside of Harry Potter to think of any. You get the idea, man. It's just I really wish that people would stop trying to demonize men so much. Like, I'm rooting for the killer to murder a bunch of innocent people for no reason. So they don't have any creative bone in their body. Like if there's like a running joke I have with some chick, it's usually one I invented. Again, if someone laughs, it's usually them laughing at something I said, never the other way around. Unless it's something that they didn't intend to be funny, like if they're cursing or like getting mad over something, and I'm just laughing at how insane they're acting. But it still isn't them actually being funny. It's just me finding the ridiculous thing they're doing amusing. But look, I hope you enjoyed the stream. I'll come back on here on Monday like I usually do. I'll probably will end up doing a video where I go through that guy's because it's just such a dumb comment, and it's really the antithesis of being helpful to furthering a dialogue about this. So, thanks James, thanks Megumi, Akatsuki Merchant. I appreciate it. So, have a good rest of your Saturday.